Welcome back to the Dr. Mary Travelbest Guide podcast. Today, we are back from a 90-day trip around the world, my second, and I'm going to share with you some experiences from Krakow, Poland, as well as some guide tips, FAQs, and my missteps. So let's start out with a FAQ. This was Marcia. She asked, basically, she just got back from Antarctica, and she asked me, at what point does a destination become a bad match for my solo senior travel? And how do I admit that early on? So my answer to Marcia is this. I said, I emphasize empowerment. I permit you to change course, leave early, or say, this isn't for me, without framing it as failure. A destination isn't wrong because it challenges you, but it is wrong if you consistently drain your energy, confidence, and your sense of safety. So if you find yourself constantly anxious, overly fatigued, or forcing yourself to push through, just listen to your body, listen to your mind, change plans, leave early, or choose a different destination. That's not a failure. It's wisdom. The goal of solo travel isn't endurance. It's fulfillment. And knowing when to pivot is one of the strongest travel skills you can develop. Here's an example. In Amsterdam, I had to change my destination frequently, sometimes multiple times a day. And yes, it was a challenge, but I managed to do so. So here's an example. One day, when I had some flexibility in my schedule, I set up a massage. I searched on my phone for massage near me, and I found one. Sometimes that's all it takes for a new perspective. And let me tell you, it was great. So now, my 60-second confidence challenge. Your challenge today is to check your passport. That's right. Take it out, open it up. Do you have at least 6 months left before your passport expires? If not, go ahead, renew it. Seriously, you don't need your passport to be expiring on you. It's a lot easier just to renew it now. So if you like this confidence challenge, my book series delves deeper into passport, documents, and solo travel. So you can find the link in the description. 5stepstosolotravel.com is my website, or you can find the book series on Amazon. Go ahead, leave a review. Leave a review on the podcast. I'd really appreciate that. And now let's talk about Krakow, Poland. First, I'm going to talk to you about the things to see as a tourist, and then I'll share some off-the-regular tourist ideas for you. It's interesting to learn that Poland is roughly the size of Texas. There were historical tensions among Polish communities in neighboring Kazakhstan, Russia, and Germany. And I've also heard about soldiers being sent from Siberia to Ukraine. So the country of Poland underwent significant change in 1989 when the Solidarity movement overthrew the socialist government. I reflected on the historical gravity of Auschwitz, where many lives were lost. Krakow, Poland is one of Europe's most enchanting cities. It's known for its history, charm, and culture. And it has lots of walkable streets, accessible attractions, and it's got heartfelt hospitality. So let me tell you about Old Town and Wawel Hill, okay? And if I pronounce the words wrong, I apologize in advance. So if you are going to be going there, you could start out the day in Rheinac Glauni, the main market square, one of the largest medieval squares in Europe. It's mostly flat with smooth pathways, although some cobblestones can be tricky. You can go at a slower pace or roll along the outer edges, which are more level for those with mobility issues. Now, in the center stands the Cloth Hall, filled with stalls selling amber jewelry, handmade crafts, and souvenirs. Elevators are available to reach the upper gallery, which houses the 19th century Polish Art Museum. Nearby, we've got the St. Mary's Basilica. That's famous for its hourly trumpet call from the tower. Inside, there's ramps and wide aisles to make it accessible for most visitors. Now, I didn't go here, but the salt mine would be a great next stop. It's far from the city. It's a bit of a trek, but next time I go, I'm going to visit. A carved church is underground, dating back to the 1800s, complete with beautiful chandeliers. Now, let's say you're going back to the city. You might want to find a cafe overlooking the square, and people watching would be my thing to do. You could go to Wawel Hill, the heart of Polish royalty. The cathedral and the castle are both partially accessible with ramps and elevators for most areas. Historic chambers may require staff assistance, but you'll find accessible restrooms and resting benches throughout the complex. And the views of the Vistula River are breathtaking, especially near sunset. There's also a Jewish heritage and reflection. And you can see the show notes for all of these links. Now, Kazimierz is the historic Jewish quarter. It's a lively, creative district filled with art cafes, vintage shops, and synagogues. Now, the old synagogue and the Galicia Jewish Museum, they're fully accessible, and they have powerful insights into Krakow's Jewish heritage. Do you remember the movie Schindler's List? If you choose to visit Schindler's Factory Museum, note that it's entirely wheelchair accessible with ramps, elevators, and rest areas. And it tells the story of life in wartime Krakow and Oskar Schindler's role in saving hundreds of lives. It was a moving experience. Now, in the afternoon, you can relax with a gentle stroll or roll along the Vistula River boulevards. There are benches, cafes, and open views of the bridges and skyline. You can reflect on all the beauty there. You could end your trip with dinner at one of their cozy restaurants where you'll hear live music and Polish comfort food. Now, a few accessibility notes. Some of the trams and buses, they have low floor, and taxis are very affordable, and English is widely spoken here. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about my journey. So I started my journey with Duolingo lessons. I wanted to build some basic Polish language skills. And I also explored the main square where I found a church and Madame Tussauds wax museum, which had some amusing distortions. Krakow is very walkable with trams rather than a metro system. I arrived at the airport. I took bus 300 for 5 stops to Jubilat. And then I walked for about 5 minutes to Tataska 12. I used Google Maps for directions and arrived near the Vistula River in Old Town. I admired St. Mary's Basilica during my walk, and then I met a friend named Alice. She said she'd be there, and she was, so we connected. While on the bus from the airport, I did notice how incredibly green everything was here. The fields and farms are beautiful, and the people have been very kind. They're offering help all over, and they do speak English, almost all of them. It's interesting to learn that Poland is roughly the same size as Texas. I did mention that in part 1, in case you didn't hear that. So the country did have some changes, but right now it's in a good stage. I learned when I was there about Saint Faustina. She's greatly revered in Krakow. She was a nun who died in 1938. She had a vision of Christ who gave her a message of mercy. And I finished a walk around the neighborhood on my second day there. You can check the show notes for more on Saint Faustina's life and history. This is not a touristy spot at all. I would highly recommend you visit this. Now, back to Krakow, the city. The gardens are absolutely gorgeous. One thing that struck me on my morning walk around the neighborhoods was how green everything was. And the homes were relatively large. Plots were spacious. It reminded me a little bit of upstate Monroe, New York, with winding streets and custom-built homes rather than a standardized development. As I walked, I noticed traffic heading into the city and hardly any other pedestrians, just 2 bikers on what seemed like e-bikes and some construction workers at a nearby site. Now, I was in a residential neighborhood, but this was serene beauty of trees and greenery, so I recommend you get out of the city. When in the city, though, I visited the castle and the Jewish synagogues mentioned earlier, and a church tower. The food came from the gardens that I ate, and transportation included trams, buses, and I mentioned my walk. So I went with a friend, this gal Alice, and she showed me the university where St. John Pope Paul II studied, and the same school as where there currently were students. I also watched a documentary about the Warsaw Uprising, and apparently it dramatically reduced the city's population from millions to less than thousands. Now, let's go over some of my missteps. I had some problems with URL. I just want to say it was really hard to make reservations. Alice and I spent 2 hours trying to figure out how to make seat reservations for my 3-hour train trip to Warsaw, and then my second trip to Gdansk. Making seat reservations on a URL is very challenging. So even when we were on the phone with the help desk the whole time with several different operators, there's got to be a better way. So I would not recommend purchasing a URL ticket for Poland. Your time and effort booking online tickets would be better spent on low-cost airline flights or booking the day you plan to travel if you're traveling solo. There's going to be a spot for you most of the time. Now, another travel mistake was I tried to squeeze too many things into one day. So I did not go to Auschwitz-Birkenau. It deserves at least a half a day. And the tour involves some areas where you might not be able to walk. It might be hard for you to get around in a wheelchair. So you might want to have a separate day trip. And I did not have time for that. So I want to, again, thank you for listening. I'll see you on the next journey and enjoy your travels.
What's on your travel bucket list? Tell the doctor and her team of women who travel the world seeking the very best. Dr. Travelbest, that is.